All right, you watched our video on the cells of the immune system, and you're back for a second helping. This is going to be fun. In that first lesson, we talked about the different cell types that you'll encounter throughout this course and as you explore the immune system. In this lesson, we're going to talk about the two main branches of the immune system, the innate and the adaptive. And to talk about these, we're going to take you deep into the chambers of a castle where a plan to defeat potential invaders is being formed. The Middle Ages, as you might imagine, was a troubling time. Anyway, for this sketch, we're going to review the battle plans of a particularly magical defense, your magical, marvelous immune system. Now, as I mentioned, there are two main branches of the immune system, the innate and the adaptive, and each of these has specific characteristics that define its function. So we're going to start with the innate immune system, which you might also hear called the nonspecific immune system, and that might actually be a better name. The innate immune system is evolutionarily older, and more importantly, it's always present in the body. It's always turned on and ready to attack. And so we've symbolized it with this table that's just built into the war room here. That table never goes away. It's always there, ready for battle planning. Now contrast that to our little adaptable folding table. That's our symbol for the adaptive immune system, and we'll come back to that a little later. So the fact that it's already in place confers the innate immune system one of its most important characteristics, and that is that it's fast. It can respond very rapidly to any pathogen that breaches your defenses or the castle walls. Do you see how we've placed our alarm bell super close to the built-in table? That's to remind you that the innate immune system has this rapid alarm response. But, as they've been saying since the Middle Ages, you can't have everything in life. So, what the innate immune system has in rapidity, it gives up in specificity. Instead of being able to say, "This is a bug from the kingdom of Sketchy, and she's the fourth child of so-and-so's second husband come to overthrow the kingdom," the innate immune system just screams, "Intruder, intruder, intruder," which definitely gets everybody's attention, but doesn't tell them a lot more than something bad is happening. So this response is called nonspecific pattern recognition, and we've symbolized it with these nonspecific pawn pieces on our built-in table. Nonspecific pattern recognition means that the cells of the innate immune system have receptors that recognize common patterns found on pathogens and injured cells that alert them that something is rotten in the state of Denmark. Sick Shakespeare reference. Now, in terms of functions, the innate immune system's main ones are to provide physical barriers between the body and the outside environment, to recruit leukocytes, or white blood cells, to the site of injury or infection. That's the process called inflammation. And finally, to provide antiviral defenses. So how does it do all of this? Well, here are the main components of the innate immune system. We won't go too in-depth now since there are entire lessons dedicated to each of these components, but we'll give you a little preview. First of all, we have some physical and chemical barriers, like city walls. These are the epithelium or chemicals produced by the epithelium. Then we have an array of cells, which you'll recognize from our first video. These are neutrophils, macrophages, dendritic cells, mast cells, and natural killer cells. And last but certainly not least, we have the proteins of the complement system, represented by this complementary high five. And that's the innate immune system in a nutshell. Don't worry, we'll talk a lot more about it in subsequent lessons. But for now, let's move on to the innate immune system's wilier sibling, the adaptive immune system. It takes a little more time for the adaptive immune system to grease its wheels and get going, but when it does, it's a bug-killing machine. What the innate immune system lacks in specificity, the adaptive immune system makes up for it in spades. The cells of the adaptive immune system respond to a specific part of a pathogen called an antigen that's represented by these ants. I guess they hadn't invented window screens in the Middle Ages. But see how each ant is a little different? Unlike the innate immune system, which responds to those non-specific patterns, the adaptive immune system can recognize each one of these antigens, which makes it specific. But these cells can also recognize a lot of antigens, like a lot, which makes the adaptive immune system super diverse, as demonstrated by these various antibody pointers pointing to multiple ants. What's more, the adaptive immune system can distinguish between self and other, so that despite being an antigen recognizing and destroying machine, it's able to ignore self cells and avoid harming the body's own tissues in the normal course of events. Remember, no friendly fire. Now, you'll notice that over there near our adapt table, our antibody mage is remembering that history is the best teacher. That history book symbolizes the idea that the adaptive immune system remembers what it's seen. It's an immunological memory facilitated by memory B cells. With each subsequent exposure to an antigen, the immune response is improved, and don't worry, we'll go into exactly how this happens in a later lesson. You might be starting to get the sense that the adaptive immune system is a little more complicated than the innate immune system. So to dive a little further in, we'll split it into two further branches: humoral and cell-mediated immunity. Humoral immunity, symbolized with this humorous jester, targets extracellular pathogens, which is why the jester is outside the war room. Also because he told one too many jokes and they kicked him out. The cells and proteins of humoral immunity are found in blood and mucosal secretions. Specifically, the main effector cells of humoral immunity are the B cells, which make antibodies that recognize and neutralize foreign antigens and target them for destruction via a number of different mechanisms. Throughout this whole course, B cells will be represented by our B archers and their antibody arrows. In this sketch, the B archer is outside with the jester to remind you that B cells are the main effector cells of humoral immunity. Plus, they're best friends. The other branch of the adaptive immune system is cell-mediated immunity, which targets intracellular pathogens. So we'll draw in all the components related to that here inside the room. The main function of cell-mediated immunity is to destroy microbes that are inside phagocytes. The effector cells of this branch are the T cells, which include CD8 positive cells, also known as cytotoxic T cells, CD4 positive cells, known as helper T cells, and Tregs. Cytotoxic T cells directly kill infected cells, which is why our 8 Knight is directly stabbing this training dummy, and helper T cells help activate other cells to kill microbes, just like this guy's trusty squire is giving him a helping hand. We'll go way more into depth with these guys when they get their own lessons, so you haven't seen the last of them just yet. Alright, now that we have a better sense of the defense, let's do a quick review before the real battle starts. The immune system is comprised of two major branches, the innate and the adaptive immune system. The innate immune system is always in place, responds rapidly, and recognizes non-specific patterns normally found on pathogens. Its main functions are to provide physical and chemical barriers, recruit leukocytes to the site of infection or injury, and to provide antiviral defenses, which it does with phagocytic cells, cytokines, and the proteins of complement. The adaptive immune system takes longer to respond, but is specific and diverse in that it can recognize a wide range of very specific antigens. Other special features of the adaptive immune system are self-tolerance and immunological memory. The adaptive immune system is comprised of humoral immunity, which targets extracellular pathogens via B cells and their antibody products, and cell-mediated immunity, which targets intracellular microbes via different types of T cells. Well, with this system in place, we can rest easy. Oh, shit. Mount up, soldiers. It's time to answer the call.